back, everybody, to another episode of Let's Talk Toku. I'm your host, Squall Charlson, and today we're going to be talking about something that I think everybody in the fandom should experience at least one of, but you're going to want to do more than one. It's like, what was that old commercial? You can't only have just one? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, but go ahead, continue.
Anyway, I'm joined by Lisa today. How are you?
Hi, Squall. How are you today?
Oh, I'm doing well. It's a little hot, but...
Welcome to summer, okay?
How about yourself? How are you doing?
Well, listen, I'm doing well. And I'm so glad to be on the show today. It's been a long journey on this show, and I've watched some of your episodes, and I'm just like, look at you, getting them big interviews and stuff. All right, go ahead.
It's been fun. I've been a follower of your show as well, and I've been seeing, like the stuff that you've done over the years, and it's influenced it, I could say, a little bit here and there. Like we've had, a little bit overlap of some of our guests. Karen, she's wonderful. We also just had Melissa Flores on the show. Great guests.
Of course.
Let's jump into this. I don't want to waste any time here, but before we do, if any viewer who is tuning in right now maybe doesn't have an idea who you are, could you explain to us?
Sure. Okay, again, my name's Lisa J, and I run No Pink Spandex, a Power Rangers entertainment news website that covers news, reviews, interviews, you name it, we've done it. And we've been around. September of this year would make us 15 years old. So it has been a very long journey, especially, coming from a background in media, coming from my college days. I was just like, let me marry what I love to do and spandex. So No Pink Spandex was born. And, we've interviewed so many Power Rangers, cast and crew. And now, like, that's how the franchise has expanded so much, especially with the comics and games and, tabletop, mobile, everything. We were able to interview those people as well. So, yeah, that's just really a gist of where I am, what we do.
Awesome. Yeah, if you guys haven't ever checked that out before, No Pink Spandex, it's right there on the wall. You guys can go check out their Twitter, check out their website, check out their content. It's really good. If you like Let's Talk Toku, you're going to love No Pink Spandex. So,
no, please. You know what? This is gonna be an interesting show, because let me tell you something. Pick two people who interview people all the time. It's just like, what?
It's like a stalemate of a tennis match, like.
Yeah, no, like, so this is gonna be a thing. So, just because I like to talk, so sometimes you just gotta cut me off and just to let you know.
I don't know. I might just let you go loose here, go a little crazy.
So let me see. What got me into Toku? Okay, let's take it all the way back to the early 90s, okay? I was a young child. And, growing up, I had an older brother. We were like 4 years apart. And, he was into wrestling. So WWF at the time was the thing in the household, okay? And of course, since I'm the younger sister, he would practice the moves on me with the body slams and the, figure fours, all of them things, right? So I have always loved, and then at some point, you realize that it's not real. But then you still watch because it's still enjoyable and you still like it. There's something about the spectacle of it where you're like, this is my jam. So I remember my cousin told me about Power Rangers, and I'm just like, say what? And I watched, it was the episode where Kimberly had to fly the plane and land the plane safely, and all that. I was like, this is my show. And I'm just like, I am a fan of, Saved by the Bell, but like martial arts and kicking butt and that's my show. So it really started there, and then from there, you watched your VR Troopers, your tattooed teenage alien fighters from Beverly Hills, your WMC Masters. I mean, like, the list goes on and on of the many different types of toku that I was able to watch here in America. Then, internet happened. And I will say that there were many trips to Japan, wink, so that you were able to watch Super Sentai, Kamen Rider, you dabbled. I dabbled, right? So, like my friends, my internet friends that I grew to know and love all the way back from the Ranger Board days. Like, we're still friends to this day. And, some of them are co-hosts of mine on my podcast, where we're just like, Lisa, you need to watch this Sentai. No, you need to watch this. You need to watch this. I'm like, okay, fine. I'll go to Japan again. Wink. So yeah.
You tell me you don't have enough time to watch all of the series, all the shows?
Yeah, all the shows. You mean like the some odd 40 or something? Like, yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot.
It's like a full-time job, really.
But like, there have been some quintessential ones where I'm just like, oh, I actually watched all the way through. I enjoy this. This is amazing, because we have so many seasons of Power Rangers already. I'm just like, ooh, child, it's a lot.
Out of the toku that you have dived into, like from Japan, what has been some of your favorites? Like, give me your top 3.
Kamen Rider Gaim was my jam. Gaim. Like, because see, here's the thing about the Gaim, right? The Gaim, you think, right? You read the premise on paper and you're like, this sounds stupid. It's like the theme is fruits. Okay, this is dumb. And then you're like, wait a minute. Then they're like dance battles. This sounds dumb. Like, you just don't think that this would be good on paper. And then you get a little skitty. You're like, I don't know. But once you watch the first episode, bro, like, it's a wrap. It was done. That's like literally currently my favorite Kamen Rider to this day. And my friends keep telling me to watch, the name escapes me. What's the current one now that's going on? That's almost
01?
01. Yeah. They keep telling me to watch it. So I'm gonna go to Japan and kind of, and catch up on that too, because I mean, usually if all of my friends are telling me that okay. But Gaim is my favorite.
I love how Gaim, if we can just sidestep to that for a second, it's, like you said, fruits on paper, and that comes about because you had the series before, Wizard, where you have the main character constantly eating donuts, and so a lot of the kids watching was like, Mom, Dad, I want to go get donuts all the time, and Toei's like, whoa, let's make the next season all fruit. So let's talk about the nitty-gritty of this episode. We are going to be talking about conventions and sort of the con circuit here in the States for Rangers and, kind of recently in the few years, tokusatsu. What all have you worked on in capacity for, some of these cons that are over here, these conventions that go on for Power Rangers and so forth?
Wow. Let me see, what haven't I done? I have done all the way, how to put this? Again, I have the podcast, I have the site, I'm coming from media background, and I realized early on, and this is early on, okay, like the early 2000s, that many people were not able to go to these conventions and watch these panels, and especially now, like, back in 2003, like, Johnny and Bosch went to Otakon, right? And like a couple of my friends went. I wasn't able to go. And we were just like, wait a minute, he's a Power Ranger. So this might be a thing. And so the whole notion of having the con circuit being cracked open by ways of anime cons was a thing. So, Johnny did Otakon in 2003, and then, there were, like he, of course, him being a voice actor, he would do a lot of the cons, but then you started seeing more and more Power Ranger guests, especially with the SPD cast. So they made their appearance at one con, I think, in LA, and then in 2005, making their appearance at YomaCon, when it was in Troy, Michigan. So all of that to say, I was just like, okay, I am of age. I can travel to these places, and I have a video camera. Let me videotape these these panels and share them with the fandom, and people were really thankful and really appreciative. And so that's where my journey started. And then, you know, you start talking to people, and then I would, you know, either film stuff for people's projects or work behind a table, help them out, or, you know, escort a guest to and fro, you know, sell merch, like, you name it. I've probably done it in terms of rangers appearing at conventions.
It's hard to think of a time before that was kind of like the norm, like how Comic-Con and all these other, you know, like big name conventions are now streaming and having, you know, these things online and made available. You were really ahead of the curve on this one, especially, you know, we were thankful to have you in our fandom able to put these things that we maybe couldn't possibly go and see because, you know, mom and dad didn't want to drive us or fly us out there, or, you know, we just didn't have the money or time to do that.
Exactly. And for me, I've always, listen, it might not appear, but really, I was a shy kid. I was a shy kid growing up, and realizing that I wanted to be a filmmaker, you know, videographer, who uses that term anymore? But like knowing that that's what I wanted to do, I realized that, oh, wait a minute. There's a way for me to kill two birds with one stone. Can we say that now? Because, you know, PC. There's a way for me to tackle two things at the same time. And me tackling my shyness and being able to have a voice and making sure that I speak articulately, like I just did right there, and making sure that, you know, like people are able to enjoy these things because they're not able to get there. I was just like, okay, this is something I can do. And so when I was filming panels, I was just like, okay, filming panels. I just don't want to do just filming panels. I mean, I really want to talk to these people, and you know, you get to talk to these people, and then they have these stories. I'm just like, I need to capture this on camera. You need to come to on the podcast, or at some point capturing these things so that they're able to tell their story to hundreds, thousands of people. And I mean, I'm just thankful that the Ranger guests, the actors and the actresses, the cast and crew have been so gracious and let me grill them for about an hour.
I really have to give you thanks, because I feel like a lot of the stuff that you've done with the guests, with, you know, people that we've had on our show now, has really sort of prepared them, and I think fans in the audience for that kind of, you know, sit down conversation that is really fun to watch, you know, somebody that you look up to, or somebody who has created or, you know, portrayed somebody that you really admire in this series, and just get to sit down and listen to them talk. So I want to thank you for paving the way for that.
Oh, no problem. Listen, you know, I'm always the only one interviewing at the time. I mean, I remember the first podcast I was ever on was Ranger Cast, and it was 5 of us, you know, just gabbing about Power Rangers, reviewing stuff, and there was interviews on there as well. And so, you know, there were a small few, but I'm appreciative that I was at the right place at the right time and able to provide, you know, like, for example, do we have time for a little story?
Yeah, go for it.
Here's where it hit me. I'm just like, this is what I want to do. Right? 2010 was the second Powermorphicon. And, you know, it had changed over hands from the previous owner, Maureen, to Scott Zillner. And so there were a lot of things, a lot of factors in that con alone that could be like, okay, is this going to take off, or is it going to... So I remember 2010 was a really big year in terms of me going to conventions and me really actually interviewing people. Like, I had the previous year, I had already interviewed like a bunch of Ranger guests at Anime Expo, or like a couple of years ago. But like 2010 was where David Yost was making his first convention appearance ever. so I'm gonna go. This is gonna happen. And he attended Anime Festival Orlando, and I was able to interview him, and I did not know that he was going to come out. I mean, his friends and fam already knew, but like, I didn't know that he was going to give me that story. And I'm passing Tony Oliver, and Tony Oliver's asking me like, are you okay? I'm just like, I think I just had an Oprah moment. Like, I don't know. And so that happened. Okay, put a pin in that. Then a few weeks later, Powermorphicon, I have to fly, because I'm from New York. I have to fly over to Powermorphicon in California, and I hadn't edited this interview yet. It had not been edited yet. So it's literally, the taxi is downstairs, I am editing and literally press send, upload, get in a taxi on a plane. The minute I knew that this was big, I was getting the mentions of this. I mean, like, it was on Perez Hilton, CNN, Yahoo News, like, it was everywhere. All of the LGBTQ media, like, it was everywhere. I'm just like, and then like different rangers are coming up like, oh my gosh, look what you did. Da, da, da. Like, to me, I'm just like, okay, this is what I want to do. This is great. I want to be able to bring out these stories, whether it's somebody coming out, whether it's somebody telling their story about whatever it is, or it could be like, sometimes you're just vulnerable and you want to get that story. I mean, I think that's really important in terms of, yes, we love the spandex and everything and the flash, but then the people behind it just kind of makes you have a connection even more when you get these stories.
I kind of want to go back on something you said earlier, where you said that you were a shy kid growing up. And I feel like I was very much in that same boat too. And you look at both of us, hosting and kind of just being out there wild and crazy. I feel like there's almost like an overcompensation that hits, that we just got to, go into it, twice as hard. And just a little nice note to anybody out there that feels a little, scared, a little shy, a little uncertain of themselves. Whatever you want to do, just go for it. Just do it. With the Ranger Con circuit, how has it changed over the years? So you've been doing this since, 2010, or was it a little bit before that?
2005 is my first convention, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow. So how has it changed over the year? Like, obviously, Powermorphicon is a huge deal. I went to the last one. I wasn't able to make it to the one before that, but it's huge. Japan World Heroes, kind of the offshoot that Scott, who, manages Morphicon now, did for Tokusatsu, which was really great. I got to go out and meet like Kamen Rider Double. I got to meet, like Ben Furia, who was the original Ultraman.
Can I just, I'm just going to interrupt. Okay, first of all, I'm mad that I wasn't able to go because Kamen Rider Double was there and I wanted to meet them. Like, I was like, ah! But money, it's a thing.
Hold on. I have a picture here of me and Aww. Ren. And it was really funny because there was a huge long line of, excited, fangirling, people that were just screaming and, going nuts because Kamen Rider Double was here. And I felt so bad because I was like, I want a photo with him. So I got in line, and he was just kind of like, and like you could tell that he was like done with this. And we had a little space set up where we were interviewing our Japanese guests because I was working through the Tokusatsu network and I was doing all the video for that. And there was this little space, and I went back there, after I, dropped some stuff at the hotel, and he's just curled up in a little ball, just sleeping back there because he was so, like jet lagged and everything. But he woke up, did his interview, and I made his day because I was wearing a Shadow Moon shirt from his favorite Kamen Rider. So, like, that's what people don't realize, right? Is that, yes, the guests are there to, meet you, greet you, sign your things, and it's great, right? But like having to do that over and over and over and over for hours and over, I mean, it is exhausting. I mean, not in a bad way. It just takes a lot of energy out of you. And so when fans go and meet these tokusatsu stars, sometimes people were like, man, like he wasn't or she wasn't the person I thought. I'm just like, well,
it is possible that, oh my gosh, they might have just maybe not have the greatest day because they have to exert that energy on end for hours. So just a little tip, just a little reminder for the fans.
And it's interesting to see like the Powermorphicon guests, or, you know, like any other Ranger alumni who have a con presence, who have, you know, been to a few, you know, have a few under the belt, like meeting Jason David Frank, who is just ecstatic, and he's just off the walls for every single person that comes in, and you're just like, how are you doing this? If you know a little bit about kind of the energy that it takes to do that. And the Japanese guests that come in are very almost new, you know, like they don't have certain things like this, or they haven't done it for a while, you know, like we get some of the older, you know, Japanese, you know, guests, and so they're very new to it, and it's almost night and day, but just keep that in mind.
Yeah, in fact, one of the guests that I worked with was Jason David Frank. It was for a moment, you know, about a year, and, you know, working behind his table, helping out stuff, that sort of thing. So yeah, like he outputs a lot of energy, a lot. And so you can imagine, like, even for him, like if anybody has been to his table, you've seen the stack of Red Bulls. I mean, you know, like, like it is needed, because his lines are out the door, through the way, around the way, coming back, double back. It's crazy. It's crazy.
You go to Powermorphicon and you're like, wow, what's half of this convention hall here empty for? And they're like, oh, that's the line for JDF. He'll be here tomorrow. People are already like camping out. They got like little tents and sleeping. No, it's not that bad, but it's wild to see that. I will say I have a memory with JDF as well. At the last Morphicon, we had the actor who played Ko from Die Ranger. He was, you know, Kiba Ranger, the Die Ranger White, who became, and, you know, some people might say the Green Ranger is his most, like, well-known, but I say the White Ranger is, like, his most, like, that's Tommy, you know what I mean? And I got to introduce the two of them, and I got, you know, a photo of their first meeting and everything, and he just grabs onto him and goes, oh my God, I shared this guy's spandex!
I shared his spandex!
Oh my God, well, that's awesome.
With how everything is currently unfolding in the world right now, you know, like with conventions kind of going on a hiatus, with everything just kind of making it a lot harder to travel and to, you know, make those sort of memories and meet those kinds of friends that you maybe only see at conventions. Where do you think everything is going to go? Like, what does the future look like? And any like sort of tips that you could give to, you know, future guests of these conventions, future, you know, people that just want to come out to these?
If we're talking about these times, okay, and everybody knows what we're talking about, then a lot of these conventions are having to rethink how they are going to even have them. And a lot of them who are able are bringing them online, are doing online either, you know, meet and greets and, you know, sign your autograph. And then there have also been other companies that have popped up where you can send in your memorabilia to be signed. It gets sent to the guest, and then they sign it, and then that transaction happens in reverse. And so, like, there's a lot of things that recently now that people are trying to think outside of the box because we're not able to physically go to these events. Where do I see it now? I mean, at some point, right, there is going to be a need to gather again. I don't know if it's going to be in the same capacity, right? I mean, the pictures alone of Anime Expo every year, I don't think and it shouldn't, that kind of packed capacity can't move, like that shouldn't happen. Like it is dangerous. And so I hope that the convention owners, the promoters, they really think about the safety of how a post-COVID is going to look like. And I personally, we should not have to see people packed like sardines again in one room again, because that's just not sanitary, safe, all those other things. In terms of, but we will get there again. We will be able to go again and be present. And so, couple of tips on the fan side and on the guest side. So we'll start with the fans, right? For a lot of people, in terms of, and I know this is going to sound really cheesy and corny or whatever, but really, honestly, be yourself. Just be yourself when you're going and meeting these toku stars, these guests, right? And I mean, unless yourself is not inclined to be a really nice person and you're just going to be a jerk all the time, then don't be yourself. Be better. But generally, being yourself and being genuine, right? Because and after being genuine, also prepare yourself, right? So if let's say you're going to meet somebody for the first time and you think, all right, I got this. Okay, cool. I'm going to say this and say that. Okay, prepare for the worst. Prepare that you are going to get starstruck. Prepare that you're going to be what can you do? And practice with a friend. Honestly, I know it sounds a little cheesy and corny, but practice with a friend. Sometimes, the first, and I've seen it all the time, literally the first 5 minutes are them people shaking and not being able to know what to say or whatever. And those 5 minutes, you could be maybe asking the guest a question about, something that you may like, or maybe something that you may have in common, whatever. Those minutes are precious. So yes, it is always cool to see the freak out and whatever, oh my gosh, this is amazing. You were my childhood. Yes, it's great. But practicing and making sure that you get a friend who knows you very well so that you can prep yourself when you're meeting these guests. Yeah. So another tip, okay, for the fans. Now, the guests might hate me for saying this, but I'm going to. Gifts. So gifts, not going to lie, a lot of people that I worked with, most of them are not able to keep them. They're not. They're either large gifts that you can't pack in your suitcase to go back home. They're either too big, and then business cards. I'll get to business cards in a second. But in terms of gifts, it's best that you just refrain from giving the gift, right? Except and the exception is, and you don't want to belabor this, right? Let's say a guest was just oh my gosh, I'm looking for this specific toy. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. I can't find it anywhere. And you're able to, now with social media, able to at them saying, hey, listen, I actually have this. Are you interested in blah, blah, blah? Unless it's kind of that in that vein, right? Because what ends up happening is that the people who are helping them, they'll turn to the person and be like, do you want this? I can't take it home. And really, you want that gift to go to your guest and not the people helping them. So, sorry, a lot of your gifts. And listen, it could change. It really can change because, there might be one day where a guest would for example, I won't name any names, but, there was one guest who was just yep, I'm going to keep all of these. I'm going to take them home and put them in my house. And it happens, but 9 times out of 10, they have packed their suitcases and their gear in such a Tetris way of just okay, I'll know I have this or whatever. I'm going shopping tomorrow. I have space for this, blah, 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 blah. So if they meet hundreds of people throughout the entire weekend, and let's say 10% gave them a gift, there's no way that they can go home with it. So little tip for fans.
Hey, quick little intermission here. I want to know if you've been to one of these conventions, if you've been out there, have met any of these ranger actors, any of these toku actors. I want to know about your experiences. I want to know what you loved, what maybe you didn't like, but I want to hear about your stories. So use the hashtag Let's Talk Toku this week and let us know all about your convention stories, the highlights, maybe something unfortunate or something unexpected that happened. We want to hear it. We want to read your stories. Anyway, that's all that I got. Let's get back to the episode.
So here's a tip for you, right? As a person, especially a media person, and as now that a lot of these panels and things, once we go back, if we, go back in person, right, that they're going to be filmed or whatever, please don't chew gum. Please. Just help me. Don't have anything in your mouth in terms of mint, gum, anything like that, like rattling on the table, all of that. If a person like me is trying to record it, we're trying to get good audio and we want to make you sound the best that you can do or make the best that you can sound. So nothing in your mouth, nothing in your hands. Don't fiddle with your mic, like that stuff, right? And actually, they've gotten better with this other tip, but just a reminder, I know it's hard. Sometimes a lot of these things are way back in the day and you just cannot remember. Before you go to a convention, right? You have your hits of stories that you tell, right? You got the hits. But then, recesses of your mind. Just do a little research, like throw in another story that we haven't heard before, right? Because every time that we hear a new story, it will help us, it'll help you, and then more people will want to go and see you and ask you, like, so what really happened? Especially if with stories that, like, you can't tell all the secrets, right? Not all the secrets and not all the names. Then people will want to go to your table and ask you, like, come on, but so really what happened though, right? So, couple of tips for both fans and guests.
Oh man, those are good. I really liked some of those. I didn't know about the gift thing, but it makes sense that if you watching right now are a future ranger or a ranger currently, or is gonna go to a convention in a capacity, buy an extra suitcase because you might want to keep some of those things.
Yeah, I mean, of course, the more popular you are, the more likely you're going to get more gifts, right? I mean, it's just the nature of the beast, yeah. But like if you're like, hey, listen, like I feel like I'm in a gift receiving mood, you carry an extra suitcase, because that again too, right? And I've seen some rangers do that, is that like when they post the person's gift, the person feels great, and it's great because it's just like something that that person did for them, and it's reciprocal, and then of course that person will want to meet them again and what have you, right? But let's not go too crazy with the gifts. Just overall, just don't.
I will say the one thing that I am maybe a little upset that it's not going to happen is Powermorphicon was supposed to happen around the time that we're filming this episode right now. And I was really excited with, the Shout Factory, TokuSHOUTsu, Let's Talk Toku, everything, that in my head, I was like, I'm going to figure out a way and I'm going to sit down and do a live episode, maybe with like, I don't know, like the Beast Morphers cast or even the Dino Fury cast, something like that. And I just... wear your masks. Just please. I love conventions. If you've never gone to a convention, all it takes is one and you will be hopefully hooked for life. They're great. You meet great people and it's just, usually a weekend of fun. If you go to like the ones out in California, you can hit up, like a Universal and Disneyland and you can make a whole week of it. So let's move into the final portion of our episode while we still have time here. With this show in particular, I had a YouTube channel. I did, silly, goofy YouTube videos about tokusatsu, about Power Rangers every now and then. And that was enough for somebody to see it and say, hey, let's try this out. Let's do this. Same with yours. You did these small things. You did these convention panels, and it kept turning and going and going and going. So is there any advice that you can give to our viewers watching that maybe have a passion like that, or maybe want to get into sort of, what you do or what I do, or maybe even do something that we haven't even seen or heard of yet?
I think my main advice would be is to make sure that you find your voice. Again, I'm cliche McGee over here, but it's true. I think that from when I started, there wasn't many outlets that were doing what we do. But now, especially with social media, especially, like YouTube. Hello, I was pre-YouTube, bro. I was pre-YouTube. how old I am. But now with all this different types of platforms and different ways in which you can connect with people, make sure you find your particular voice, and not physical voice, me. We're talking about your actual point of view. And what does that mean? Well, it could mean many different ways. Like, let's say that you have an interest in Kamen Rider, right? And you're like, all right, I want to cover the news and I want to cover this and okay, well, yes, you can do that. But what particularly about your voice will make people want to either watch you on YouTube or read your blogs or follow you on social media? What exactly do you think that people will want to gravitate towards you? And it's hard. That's like the, like what's the meaning of 42? You know what I mean? Like, that is like the quintessential question of just like, how do I answer that? Well, here's how. Here's a couple of things. What you can do is ask your friends, right? Ask your friends, and just like, hey, like, what are some things that you think that I'm good at? Or what do you think I can excel at? And then they'll give you feedback, and then you keep going down your friends, and then you gather notes, and then you match up to like what your interest is in. So I use Kamen Rider, for example. But like, okay, so Kamen Rider news. Okay, you could do that. Or let's say that your friends are like, you know what? You actually really make great clothing. Like, you are a crafty person. Like, you do like certain things that you wouldn't think that you may like to do. And you're like, oh, wait a minute. I could do like some crafts based on Kamen Rider. And then finding out, now you have to ask yourself, okay, what medium do you want to use? Do you want to be in front of the camera? Do you want to just create in terms of writing, like all these other things? Like, how do you want to present that? And that's really something that you have to answer for yourself in terms of how much time you have, what you can put into, and then the type of quality that you want to present. Now, everybody could say, just throw it up there and see how it is. Yes, and then you can improve over time. But, a little effort goes a long way, just a little bit. And so therefore, just these things that you can do in terms of like even just starting, I think a lot of people, what I've seen a lot on Twitter especially, is just that, look, I'm putting out so much content and it seems like nobody's listening and nobody cares and whatever, and I don't know why I should do this and whatever. Well, it might be true that maybe something might not be grabbing towards what you're doing. It might be true. Or there might be something else where you can tweak or, change your point of view just a little bit, or niche down just a little bit further, because there's going to be somebody out there, going to be people out there who appreciate your point of view and how you present it. And really and truly, that is the basis, the bedrock, the foundation. Once you do that, then you can go and see how you can apply that into your Toku empire.
Awesome. I hope you guys are taking notes. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with some more Let's Talk Toku. Like, personally, with like my YouTube and everything, I went into school, I went, for film, wanted to be a videographer. Nobody uses that term anymore. You're right. But I really had kind of that resistance of, I could do this, but I really focused on the big picture. I want to write films, direct films. And then that kind of moved towards, being in front of the camera, and all these years that I wasted, that when I finally did, after like many unsuccessful attempts at YouTube, like I did like a video game channel, I did like a comedy channel, I did all these things. It wasn't until I talked about something that I was passionate about, which was tokusatsu, that it took off. But even at the time, there was, a handful of people on YouTube that were talking about this. If I had started it years ago, imagine how much better those videos that, you caught when I would have started would have been. Just do it. Just don't stop doing what you want to do. It always gets better.
I will say, though, I don't want you to think of those years as wasted, because those were learning. They were learning years that you needed to go through for your own personal growth. True. It's just facts. Like, I mean, I could look at, well, now that they are not doing this, but I mean, you know, Power Rangers now, right? I could look at them and be like, oh my gosh, if I only had. But that wasn't my journey. That wasn't my path in which I took in order to grow my own personal point of view and what I wanted to do. So I don't want you to think of it as wasted. I think those were important years that you needed to learn from, because a lot of people think, oh, I failed, I don't learn, or oh, I waste my time. No, like, you needed to fail in order to learn the next time, and you need to fail again and fail again and fail again. There's a lot of failures, as we have covered in this show. There's a lot of failures, but it was necessary. And so for you, Squall, if I were to give you some advice, you know, I mean, because now we're talking, we're just talking here. Right? For you, I believe that if you, for yourself and for your own sanity, right, don't ever look at, like, oh, what I could have been, because, like, yeah, you could have been and maybe not handle it properly. Maybe you weren't ready for it. Maybe you had have handled something differently. Like, you just never know. There's too many factors. And so really and truly, like, what can you do now and learn from now and take those steps in order to better yourself? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, a lot of people, especially a lot of people in their 30s, okay, feel like, I'm over that hill, I can't do anything or whatever. But there are people who are literally starting businesses in their 30s and growing their businesses. Like, I mean, it's just, I just want to encourage everybody, like, it is not too late, right? But you have to do the work. Like, I mean, you can't, there's no, like, shortcut. So you have to do the work, and it won't be wasted time.
That was very beautifully put. I really appreciate that. Thank you. I mean, even just with this show, you know, where we started, this is a little behind the scenes here. This is the last episode that we're filming in this bunch. And, you know, I definitely didn't feel as comfortable with it as I do now when we started. And I think the quality of the product shows, and I just hope that you guys can also take something from this episode today and hopefully, you know, continue to push forward. What can I do today? What can I do that's going to make tomorrow better? If not for yourself, maybe somebody else. But that's all the time that we have for this episode of Let's Talk Toku. Thank you guys so much for watching today. Lisa, do you have any final words?
Any final words? Well, you can follow No Pink Spandex on all the socials. No Pink Spandex. Yeah, you Google it. Just Google it. And I am just so thankful that for the past 15 years, I'm able to, like, do something that I'm passionate about, and just being able to share it with people who care. It's great. So wonderful. And I thank you, Squall, for having me on the show. Again, follow No Pink Spandex on all the things. There you go.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on, Lisa. We had a really good hour, I think, today. I think this is going to be one of the most, I would say maybe my personal favorite episode. This one, I think, hit a lot of places that I've wanted to kind of discuss and hit. So I thank you so much for coming on today.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. So are we off?
I'm gonna. But thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you all on the next episode.
Sorry.
Now we're good. Clear.